Hi guys, welcome to this little episode that we did with Captain Dave with the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment. We support our troops, and this little interview was both entertaining and educational. Enjoy the interview. He has a lot of interesting stuff to say about this regiment.
Regiment in history.
Yeah, in history, yeah. They are very historically correct, especially when doing parade or any kind of event.
And their tack and everything. It was a really cool interview. Hope you guys enjoy.
The music does sound eerily plain.
Guys, welcome to another adventure.
Closer.
This is Captain David. Captain David.
I'm Captain Dave Richards. I'm the commanding officer of the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment's Horse Detachment, based out of Fort Irwin, California.
And we're out here at the California Mounted Shooting event. What kind of events did we do today?
So today we did a couple shotgun class for the U.S. mounted shooters, and we also did some time-only runs, which can kind of be considered rehearsals for mounted shooting. So you had single-action revolvers on horseback. Today we were out at the Bootleggers Bash, which is a USMS.
Perfect time.
U.S. mounted shooters. So this is, everyone out here today is shooting 10 rounds from horseback with 2 pistols. So you load up a 6-shooter with 5 rounds of each gun, and there's various patterns that you train and practice on, and then you execute it. And there's rules for every specific course that you go out on. You engage 5 targets with 5 rounds from your first pistol, and then you do a quick pistol change, and then you engage your last 5 targets with your other 5 rounds. And there's special variations on this where you'll actually switch from a pistol to a rifle. And then there are some courses where you'll actually switch from a pistol to a double barrel side-by-side shotgun, and you'll pop balloons from shotgun as well.
Right.
And then you got to do your guys'
The saber.
with the sabers, right?
Yes, we did do a short clinic today on how to properly engage targets with a historic cavalry saber. The cavalry saber that we use is the 1865 light cavalry saber. So that was actually used from the Civil War all the way until the late 19-teens, when they switched to the patent saber, which was a straight-bladed saber, as opposed to ours, which are curved.
Right.
So that would be the same one for history buffs. That would have been about Custer's
War.
Last Stand and everything, right? Or
Exactly. And actually the carbines that we use, we don't have any of them with us here today, but the carbines that we use is what the Army was issued in 1898 to 1903, and it's called the Krag-Jorgensen carbine. And at Custer's Last Stand, they were still using that old Springfield trapdoor carbine. And what happened was, when the battle was over, the only survivor from Custer's unit was a single horse named Comanche. And that horse took off and found a supply train and followed that U.S. Army supply train all the way back to the fort. And that's how the Army found out that Custer lost the last stand. They went all the way out to Little Bighorn, and when they were scourging the battlefield, what they found was many, many dead Custer soldiers with ramrods still stuck down the barrel of those old Springfield trapdoor rifles. Because the way those single-shot carbines worked, you actually had to put your thumb in front of the trapdoor ejector in order to make it eject the round correctly. If you just flipped the trapdoor all the way open, the cartridge would not eject correctly once the barrel got hot. So all these soldiers in the heat of battle forgot that rule and got jams in their rifles and died trying to clear their rifles.
Right.
So the Army decided, we got to do something different. So
Right.
they switched to the Krag-Jorgensen carbine, which is a 5-round repeating bolt-action rifle, where the trap door is actually on the side of it. You flip the door down, you load your 5 rounds in, you slap the door shut, and now you have a bolt-action repeating carbine. So that's how the Army fixed the Battle of the Little Bighorn for the future
Right.
soldiers.
Yes, no, I
Took
remember
away the baseball bats and gave them something that worked a little better, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember the story of Comanche because being a horse kid, you
Yep.
grew up and you learned that story. So.
Right.
Yep, the very first horse that we got for our program back in 2001 was named Comanche. He was a black off-the-track thoroughbred rescue, and ever since then, this program has always had a horse named Comanche.
Nice.
The latest Comanche that was just retired was the 3rd Comanche, and he was a tiger stripe dun Mustang, and he retired at the age of 18.
Wow. Okay, speaking of the program, so you guys are running a program with a current head of 15, right?
Yes, we have 15 horses currently. We have the capacity for 16, and we have about 20 soldiers to take care of them. And the whole mission and purpose of the unit itself is to preserve the history and traditions of the horse-mounted U.S. Army Cavalry circa 1901. Because that's when our unit was founded. Our unit is the 11th Cavalry, which is dubbed the Blackhorse Regiment. And they were named that because in 1926, they were stationed in Monterey during the Great Monterey Oil Fire. So during that disaster, the soldiers of the 11th Cavalry ran down the hill from the Presidio and helped put out the fires. And all of the horses back then, they didn't look like Chance. They looked like our other horses. They were all sorrel, chestnut, or bays.
Right.
And by the time they finally got the fires at Monterey put out, the horses were covered with soot and ash from the fire, and they were all jet black. And that's how we earned the moniker Blackhorse.
Nice. Nice. So, for soldiers coming into your unit, how much horse experience have they had in the past?
Absolutely zero.
Zero.
The average soldier that tries out for the horse detachment has 0 horse experience, and then their full-time job, what the Army pays them to do every day, is learn how to ride horses and do everything horse and cavalry to the standards of the 1901 cavalry. Now, there are some soldiers that are lucky and they do have that prior horse experience,
Right.
but it's a big Army and there's only so many people with that background, so we don't get a ton of them. Right now, I think there's only 3 people out of the 20 people on the team that had prior horse experience. Everybody else starts from a blank slate. But we almost prefer it that way because with a fresh person coming to horses, you don't have to untrain any bad habits and retrain them your own way. You can kind of
Right.
start fresh and build them the right way from the ground up.
Right, right, absolutely. So, with the training, what kind of training program do you guys normally run?
So we train our horses. The biggest methodology we use is energy management and consistency. So we don't have the horses go as fast as they can go. The horses go exactly what speed we ask them to, and we hold them to that standard. If a horse wants to take off at a full gallop and we want them to trot, we make them trot.
Right.
And we get them out of the stall every single day. So they train 4 to 6 hours every single day. There you go, face the camera, pretty boy.
There we
Yeah,
go.
he's pretty boy.
They are in the saddle for about 4 to 6 hours, Monday through Thursday, every week. And so they get out of the stalls, they're active, and most of them love the work. They really do. They hate getting left in the stall because for the most part, we're pulling out the entire herd at one time to go do training. But the training isn't all, fast and loud, gunfire, sabers. Some of it is more slow work, like it's more learning how to ride in formation and move as a formation, how to do pinwheels and counter columns, all of that drill and ceremony that a private would learn at basic training. There's a whole separate set of commands and methodology for doing all of that on horseback. And we have an original 1898 cavalry manual. It's called Cook's Simplified Cavalry Tactics. And we use that manual to train our soldiers. So everything that we're doing is very accurate to that time period. I'm in a
Awesome.
Western saddle right now, but the McClellan saddles that we have, they are handmade, hand-stitched, hand everything made to an original cavalry manual. There's a gentleman out of Texas that hand makes all of our saddles. So
Wow.
everything that we use, the tack, the methods, the commands, it's all as authentic to that 1900s cavalry as you can get.
Nice, nice. So, go ahead.
So do you feel like there's a difference between riding the McAllen saddle versus the Western saddles that we?
Oh, massive difference. For one, comfort. A McClellan saddle is just rawhide wrapped in a single layer of leather.
See,
So
some people that ride those gated horses think that saddle's super comfortable because I've ridden in a McKellen once, and I'm the same way. I'm like, nope, I'll take my Western saddle.
So it's different. I think that one of the advantages to McClellan is there's less between you and the horse. So at times you can get very nuanced communication. If you're especially if your horse is very seat sensitive, you can do a lot of work with a McClellan. And it's definitely more comfortable for jumping and some of those more dynamic things. And the saddle itself is designed to be modular. So you can attach a bunch of stuff to it. So you can attach a bedroll, a canteen, a saber, a scabbard to put your carbine in. So if you use it the way it was designed to, it's an effective saddle, but it is not the most comfortable. I like the Western because you got a little more padding.
Right.
It's just a more comfortable seat, but I don't know, maybe that's just the American in me.
Right.
The history of the McClellan saddle is interesting. It was created by General George S. McClellan, who was at one point was the commander of the Union Army during the Civil War. Now, he graduated West Point, and he was an avid horseman, and he spent a long time touring Europe and Asia, taking bits of horse and equine knowledge from a lot of different cultures and countries, and especially their saddles. And
Yeah, Mongolians, I think, have a really interesting saddle that looks similar to the McKellen.
Yes, so he rode with Mongolians, with the Prussians, with the Italians, with the English, with all kinds of different countries, and he kind of combined the best of all those worlds into one saddle, and that was the McClellan saddle. And the Army used different variations of the McClellan saddle from the 1860s all the way until 1940s, when they discontinued horse-mounted cavalry in favor of mechanized cavalry.
Right. So the McClellan saddle would have been the state of the art saddle for its time.
Yes.
All right.
And they were reinventing it every few years and adapting it. So we ride the 1898 McClellan, but there's also a 1904 McClellan. There's a 19-something else McClellan. There's several different generations of it with nuanced differences.
Nice.
Well, I'm sure Chance is ready to eat.
He is definitely ready to eat.
I got one more question before
Sure,
we go.
yeah.
So for somebody coming in that has never ridden a horse, what kind of trainers do you guys have? Do you have trainers that are on hand all the time? Do they work every day? How does that work?
Our trainers are contracted.
Okay.
So their contract states they spend X number of hours, X days a week here present for training.
Nice.
And they're the ones that kind of they train not only us, but they train the horses as well. So if there's a horse that's acting in a way that requires a trainer to get on and correct a behavior, the trainers are there for that as well.
Right. So the new guys that have never been on a horse don't really have anything to worry about because they're always in a trainer's safety blanket per se.
Yep, and the trainers are only pairing them up and telling them to go on horses that are safe for them to use. So we
Right.
have some horses that are more mild than wild.
Right.
So you have those horses to bring up those more junior riders. And then when you have a rider that's more senior on the team or more talented, you pair them up with a wild horse to bring that energy back down.
Right.
So the way our program works, you always have a horse that's bringing up a rider, or you have a rider that's bringing up a horse. And that's how we keep everything on the level bubble.
Right.
Thank you.
Well, Captain Dave, it was a pleasure.
Absolutely.
We do appreciate your
Thank you
time.
very
Thank you
much.
both.
Have a great day.
You as well.